Welcome to the live session of Visit Lapland. This is the Lapland TV here you're watching, and then we will talk today about the fishing in Lapland and then fishing lifestyle and how fishing can be one of the most inspired option at this moment. And then we have many guests to join at the moment here in this studio. So I will introduce all the guests and then we'll continue our discussion. So let's welcome first Ville. Ville
Hello.
Eskonen is from Kilpisjärvi. He's a fly fishing guide and he is a fisherman, and then he does have many years of experience as in fishing sector. So we will talk Ville later. So we get other guests and then we'll continue. We have Henrik Korkeamäki here. He is the project manager of Metsähallitus, which is the governing body of taking care of the nature and outdoor sites and activities and all these issues. So Ville is here, and then he is also a fishing expert and fisherman, and then he does have also academic qualification in fishing and biology and other things. So Ville can tell us more about those fishing, tourism, and different aspects of current issues and different situations, and then we can get many up-to-date information from him. And then we have Elias Terio, who is also a fisherman, and then he is at the moment in the board of local fishing authority, and then in Lapland Ylläs regions travel association, and he does have worked in some fishing projects which were Arctic waters, and they have had quite good work in the for to promote the fishing in Lapland. So we will talk about that as well. And then we have another guest, Lars. So he will probably join us later. So at the moment, if we start from the beginning, that how you see the fishing tourism or fishing industry at the moment, and how uh, what are the things that you are trying to develop in this stage? If Henrik could start.
Thank you, Yasim. Uh, Fishing in Finland and in Lapland, there's plenty of space to go around and participate. And the nature, anyhow, is spectacular. There's a lot of space to go around and a lot of waters. So it's a huge amount of opportunities, and you never know what you're going to experience and find. For me, like the last summer, I was, expecting good fishing, but I got way more than that, just good fishing. Uh, it's the nature, it surprises every time. So, and what I'm doing in my work is trying to get better fishing destinations to uh, anyhow in generally in Finland, and on the locations and fishing locations that are managed by Metsähallitus that are owned by the Finnish state or the government. So that's what I'm doing right now.
Yeah. So, like, what are the things like at the moment? Like, if this current situation, like all of us are in different place at the moment here, at our own place, and then we are connecting via this network in live. So, what the situation is that like people, these travel restrictions and different kind of those sickness, those what we are experiencing at the moment. So how it would be, for example, if you continue for this summertime or autumn time, this fishing activity. Does it have any influence on that, or what do you think?
Uh, uh, Question is for everyone or for me?
Yeah, Henrik could respond.
Yeah, it's I mean, not a lot of things are changing. I'm thinking that really there's no crowding in fishing in Finland. That it's probably the effects are going to be really minimal. I mean,
Yeah,
regarding fishing, the transportation question is something that can have an effect on how to arrive to destinations, and the accommodation, of course, where people are wanting to hire a cottage or maybe, the options, they actually are not about fishing because you're really alone. I mean,
yeah,
you can hold your distance better than in the city. So it's a good option to
yeah,
go outdoors. And I mean, fishing has gone up in Finland quite a lot this year. People are buying licenses, the national licenses, more than previous years. So outdoor activities are really on the rise, and people are, enjoying their time.
yeah. Like what I've seen that, like from in the beginning of the year, from January to March and April, like this session, the the sale of those fishing permits, those increased significantly, and then it's expected that in the this before this summer season and all these when those fishing starts in different place in Lapland, so those permits will be also increased more than previous year. Yeah. So like I just say for our audiences, if you want to ask something or if you have some comments, please write there in the comment box, and then we will respond to you. And then you can follow our live discussion in Facebook page of Visit Lapland and also in our YouTube channel. And then you can also visit our website where you can see ourlapland.fi/live. There you can follow our discussion. If I go back to Elias,
Yeah.
how is that like you were working for long for different fishing projects and you are also uh, as a fisherman working in different fishing related local governing bodies, so how you see fishing in Lapland at the moment and what are the prospects here, or is there any different challenges what you see at the moment?
Well, to be honest, fishing and the other outdoor activities, they're the reason why I first moved up here in the first place. So I see them very important part of our lifestyle here. So you mentioned earlier, I live up in Yles region on the western part of Finnish Lapland, and on my daily task, I work as an executive manager for the Travel Association of Yles. But I also been working with Fishing Lapland, uh, an EU-funded project of developing the fishing tourism and the services around it up here in Lapland. And our waters, our waters, first of all, are very clear, and we have plenty of them. We got plenty of fish, but at the same time, when we have a great amount of waters and pretty good fish populations, and also wide range of services related to fishing, like accommodation, guiding services, all sort of supporting services around it. We need to remember that the nature up here is very fragile, and every time when we um, when we go out there, we need to make sure that we respect the nature, and we also need to keep in mind when we go fishing that up here it takes so much longer for the fish to grow than in southern hemispheres, that uh, you need to you need to respect it, and bear that in mind when taking catches from the waters. But in generally, we have so many options. Uh, well, it's a Sunday evening, so maybe we'll be done by Friday if I start it in all the way. But we got a great amount of grayling populations in our waters. We got good pike populations, and we need to also raise up the fact that uh, we have 520 kilometers of border river between Finland and Sweden, where we have one of the largest in size, one of the largest salmons in the whole world. Like our approximate size of the salmon from the Tornemone River, which we call the Väylä, is around 8 kilos, and it's an Atlantic salmon and kind of like a cousin of it from the Baltic Sea. So I
Yeah.
see that we have multiple options, phenomenal nature around it, which is fairly safe. So I think one of the best part of Lapland is fishing.
Yeah, like Lapland, the area is like it's so diverse and pristine that like it's quite nice. The opportunity is really great to catch fish, and then
Mm-hmm.
the nature in is so peaceful, and then you can fish in a calm and relaxing atmosphere and in the nature, and then those fishing those in the places, for example, what is starts from Enontekiö and Kolari Pello and that Ylitornio, that region which is the border with Sweden. So this one, and also like in Utsjoki Inari there where there is this Teno River, which is also like the biggest one of the important place for fishing salmon and other fishes. So of course, like fishing in Lapland, especially, it does have a lots of opportunity here. If someone wants to fish and come to for fishing and enjoy the outdoor, enjoy this relaxing nature, then probably Lapland, I guess, is the best in Finland. So we'll go to Ville. Like there was a question that whether there is a difference of some kind of license for line fishing and net or cage fishing. What Ville says. Ville is a guide also, so Ville can
Yeah,
respond.
yeah, there's a difference between line fishing and net fishing. I think at least up here you need to be local to get net permissions. Otherwise, you can just use either line fishing, like in the summertime, you can fly fish or use normal reel and rod, and wintertime you can do ice fishing. But for net fishing, you need special licenses, and up here at least it's not easy to get. I think I'm not sure. I think Henrik knows more about
Yeah.
licenses.
Okay, yeah. So if like Ville, you are a guide, fly fishing guide, and then you are living in Enontekiö, which is also one
Yeah.
of the important place for fishing. How do you describe the possibilities of Enontekiö area or in Kilpisjärvi area for
Oh,
fishing?
wait.
Fishing activities are outdoor.
Yeah, we have excellent grayling fishing, Arctic char fishing, lots of big pikes, big perch. But the main reason that people come up here is world class grayling fishing. We have biggest graylings in the world up here, up to 2 kilos, and lots of people from all over the world are coming for it. So you were talking that it's not this corona crisis is not affecting that much for fishing, but up here I'm pretty sure that it will be seen in this summer that we don't have any uh, visitors from abroad, just Finnish people, but probably more Finnish people than normal year. But yeah, we have very good fishing up here.
Yeah, of course, like these travel restrictions and other things, like for the foreigners, foreign tourists or fishermen, like it's kind of hard at the moment if we
Mm.
think for this summer period. But what do you think, like if people from, for example, from the southern Finland or some other areas, they would be interested to come to Lapland, or like how? how you think that that would be kind of add something at least, or
Yeah, definitely. It's probably going to be a very good fishing summer this year. We have lots of snow now, so we will have a good level of water. Like last summer was really dry, and this summer it looks that it's probably going to be very good fishing. And of course, Finnish people, now that we are allowed to travel inside Finland, we should use the possibilities to go fishing. It's a like you said in the beginning, it's a very good thing to do now because you do it alone or in your own private group. So it's you can do it pretty much safely
yeah,
considering this world situation.
yeah, that's true because like in Lapland, it's not that sparsely populated. It's sparsely populated, and then like there is enough space for like
Mm.
to stay in the nature and like enjoy your own time. And at the same time, like there's also many people thinks that, or like I think it's also very practical and in reality it works very nice because like in you can have peace of mind in the nature in Lapland and then relax and do the fishing. So in this kind of a stressful situation, it could be one of the like best alternative, I guess.
Yeah, it's the best.
Yeah,
easily, easily the best thing to do.
yeah. So like from I think like from tomorrow it starts those different kind of fishing permits. It starts to sail in different part of Lapland for this summertime and for salmon fishing and other things. I guess it starts from tomorrow. Can Henrik tell us about something about those permits and when it starts about those issues?
Uh, Actually, I think I'm probably not the best person to answer that
Yeah,
question. Anyhow, the previous question about the gill nets and cage fishing,
yeah,
as was the question, is basically the net and cage fishing is strictly by the owner of the water can sell licenses,
yeah,
and like from the pages of eräluvat, which is really hard to pronounce to the show, but just write the text somewhere. But
yeah,
uh, it's the road licenses are more or less a bit easier to get anyhow because the ecological impact is way smaller than with net or cage fishing, and in many places the net and cage fishing is not allowed only to local people when we're talking about the three northernmost municipalities or towns. So they have some uh, some rights. I mean, rights as indigenous people and their
yeah,
culture. So, but anyhow, it's I really need to pay quite some attention
yeah,
to get, but it's possible in many locations. Still,
yeah,
you can do it.
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah.
Uh, how Elias could add here, like you were working also for the promotion of fishing in Lapland, and then you had worked in a project. So how did have you seen that? How did it went, and then what are the things like kind of the opportunities here,
Permit wise, or
like as fishing opportunities, if we like think is as a practical issue.
well, um, on a practicality, it depends on if you are an angler and you know your game, you know what you do. You'll use retkikartta.fi, which is also a service from Metsähallitus,
Yeah,
the Finnish forestry administrator. It's a map service, so you search from the map. You search for the water and locations where you want to aim on, and uh, plenty of opportunities. We got low level fishing destinations like here in Ylläs. Our we have Kesänkijärvi, which is all owned by the local fishing association and also by Metsähallitus. and we have made it with easy access, and we also stock some fish in it. So we have that type of easy access opportunities, but also pretty easy access to more remote places and more more challenging fishing. You'll find pretty much through the guiding services, because these guys know their waters and they know the species of fishes, and can tell you from the first step if you have some specific fish species in your mind, that if it's gonna be and where it's gonna be and how to catch it and so on. So through the guiding services is these waters are very easily accessible. But like I said, for anybody who's already fishing and states themselves as anglers, they'll find the waters and they'll find the hot spots from the maps. And when it comes to these permits, first of all, you need to have the governmental uh, fisheries management fee, and also then depending on the area where you're gonna be fishing, if it's gonna be on the Western Lapland, you'll need the rod permit for the Western Lapland, and those permits you'll find from ourlapland.fi. I'll put in the comments. I'll put the link in it. And then we have some other destinations like Ville, the border river for salmon fishing. There is a different permit for that, but you still need to have the fisheries management fee. That's the cornerstone of the permits. You need to have that one, and then on top of that, you'll buy the permit for specific destinations. And they are easily you'll buy them online. You have them on your mobile phone, and it's easy to show it to the wards when you meet them at the rivers. And at least I'll be watching you over here at Yllä's area. So that's so I operate as a fishing ward on the local waters as well, because I think that's a very good way to give back to the nature and to the community for my hobby and so on. So plenty of opportunities, different kind of levels, but for anybody who's new for the region, or maybe new for the hobby,
Yeah.
of fishing or the lifestyle of fishing, I would recommend definitely to use guiding services, just like Ville is doing what he's doing up there in Kilpisjärvi, or
Yeah.
how Henrik has done in his project in Pello, where the only opportunity to this specific fishing destination is go through a guiding service. And those things you'll find from fishinglapland.com, and I can put those links into the comments for you.
Yeah. Okay, thanks, Elias. Like for like detail, kind of elaborating those basic things. I had a question for Elias, that how do you see that fishing lifestyle in your own life, or how do you um, uh, how you experience it? If I said that fishing is a lifestyle or outdoor lifestyle, so how do you enjoy it or experience it?
Um, it is definitely a lifestyle for myself. As mentioned, I I use my time in different kind of roles around fishing, uh, giving back and making and doing a little bit of uh, how do you call it, like talkootyö, like free of charge, like voluntarial work
Yeah.
when it comes to water maintenance and fish warding. Then also I'm a part of the expedition of Arctic Waters, a TV show where we go and fish around the different places. Um, this season is gonna be interesting. We had great plans done over the winter, and now they're all redone, and we'll be fishing a lot of domestic waters. And then I had the privilege to lead the Fishing Lapland project, and got work, got my salary from fishing and working in fishing environment. So it's a big part of my life. And like today, I had to I had to tune into this fishing mode because I was only in fly tying mode last night. So I went out for a pike, but when I was waiting, I was fishing a local water, and the snow on the bank of the water just dropped underneath me. And when I was there standing in the water with my waders on, but I had my snowshoes on, I was wondering maybe it's a bit too early. So it was easy to come in. It was easy to come in for this life. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really interesting. Like you are living also in Lapland, so like some people also wonder like how it is like living in Lapland and be a outdoor man or like having a close connection with nature and outdoor activities and like outdoor adventures. So were those things also like kind of your own, like you feel it too close to stay with the nature?
From my personal point of view, um, currently I'm indoors, so I'm not very close to nature at the moment. Even though my place is in the middle of the woods and under a fell, so um, we are very close to nature up here. I think that's the whole reason why people these days moves up here. Uh, like myself, I can work remotely from home. I got light fiber connection for internet, and then when I open my door, I got the national park right there at this doorstep, and go out and breathe the cleanest air in the world. And when I go fishing, I go there more to observe the nature than to catch a fish, to actually catch a fish. So
Yeah.
I really enjoyed, especially during the summertime when you see all different type of insects in the nature, and birds, etc. So um, that's my getaway from this crazy world. Uh, that's where I go and hide and recharge myself. And I think that's the same with Ville and Hendrik as well, because these guys, they live in different places from myself, but they have this connection with the nature as well. And I think it's very common among the anglers. Or how do you see it, guys?
Mm. I also like to get some fish. It's not not bad at all.
Yeah.
The difference between a good fisherman and an excellent fisherman.
True that.
Yeah,
True
Yeah,
that's
that.
yeah.
right.
Snap.
So
That,
busted owned. Yeah. Just a quick comment. I mean, that's the whole reason. I mean, my hobby, which I started as a 4-year-old, has been my education in university was about fish, and I've been working like 12 to 15 years in the jobs that are quite related to water and fish and fishing tackle, and it's um, it's given so much in many ways. And as one British writer, I think, or some guy said that fishermen never quit; they just stop fishing. They're really, in a sense, they're always fishing. They're just having pauses. And for me, I'm just between fishing trips, more or less, and the nature. And for me, it's the essence of nature is when you stop and stop moving and start observing and seeing and hearing, and then you see the nature in its true form. You're just not someone walking through or causing disturbance. Suddenly you just are a part of the landscape or the lake, and that's the whole idea of fishing, because you stop with a good excuse.
Yeah.
yeah, that's really nicely said. Like it's really important, like how you can just stay with in the close to the nature, and then how you can feel it in your own like in the mind, and then like this relaxing and having your own like very own time. And then like I think like as Ville said, or Elias also said, like sometimes this actually the catching fish, maybe in my opinion, is not that kind of important when we consider it as a outdoor activity, and probably like it does have quite many more of these rather than just catching a fish.
That's true. I think uh, drinking coffee is actually pretty big thing, at least for myself when I'm out there. But of course, it's nice to catch a fish. It's the temptation of making that fish to catch the fly. When myself, I fish with the fly mostly. So um, you try to copy the insects and then try to get that fishes and lure to catch that fly. And then of course the excitement of the battle, if your line is gonna hold, goes up here. Let's say that when we go to fish with Ville sometimes, and hopefully that will happen in not that long from here
It
again,
will.
and yeah, I know it's gonna be very thin lines.
Yeah.
So we use like when we talk about fly fishing and the diameter of lines, in we use 5 to 7x tippets up here, and it's the one of the things is the excitement if your line is gonna hold, because you never know how big fish you're gonna catch. And like Willa told, you may be on a trailing water where the average size is around 40 centimeter, but you never know
Yeah,
when there's gonna,
or more.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, and you never know when that there is gonna be that 60 centimeter beast.
Yeah.
So it
Yeah.
it's the excitement.
Yeah, like what kind of like have you had any like Elias, if you what kind of fish, like the big fish you have caught, or what experience do you have in that?
Um, well, I think the biggest, um, at least the biggest salmonoid fish I've got, that was 4.5 kilo land-bred salmon from Russian side, and I was 9 years old back then. So it's been a while since I've caught great salmon. Oh well, salmon on the border river, but that doesn't count in my mind because that was with harling, which is a type of trolling, so I don't count it. But yeah, big pikes and nice trouts and rainbows. I think unfortunately my greatest fishing memory when it comes to the actual catch the fish goes out to Slovenia, where I managed to get a marble trout on a very small creek. But up here, maybe my trailing record when I broke it, and it was plus 37, and such a the weather conditions were not were anywhere close to be good for fishing, and still managed to get a 54 centimeter trailing. So
Yeah,
that's something very nice. And
yes,
how about
interesting.
how about Hendrik? Tell me about those bigs.
Yeah. So I mean, last year was a really good year for me. I was fishing not a lot, but really catching nice fish. Uh, really, it was a really, getting to learn the waters, and as Elias was saying, that it's a good option to get a guide at least for one day,
Mm,
because it's the waters and the fishing is quite different what people think. And anyhow, when I know some of really good fishermen around the world, when they go fishing abroad, they really often get a fishing guide, because then you know how to fish and try to catch. And even though people are saying that, yeah, it's fishing, it, but the small nuances and differences can, be the difference between excellent fishing and blanking, catching
Mm.
nothing. And last summer, we had this journalist from UK, Angling Times. We were hosting Mr. Martin Bowler, and we had just 4 days of fishing. And the plan was to catch a Atlantic salmon from Väylä,
Yeah.
and that we had just 2 days, and it's not well, and also 2 days to catch pike over 10 kilo from Kemijoki, and yeah, we caught the salmon, actually two salmon from Väylä, and also Mr. Bowler got a 11.3 kilo pike, and I got 2 to 3 kilos under, and it was just fishing for 4 days, and it's we were of course had these guides, Rauno Virta from Elämysvirta and Mr. Antti Pekki was guiding us giving tips and hosting us on Kemijoki. It's close to Rovaniemi, and the fishing can be good if you know what you're doing, but it takes a bit of expertise. When you go around to new waters, it's tricky, but it can be really, you can make your life a lot easier getting some local expertise, and they can always help you with licenses and accommodation. And in Lapland, when you go a bit off the maps, not just being in the town, the distances are, and everything, they can help you quite a lot, and it's easy to come visit when you have this guide who helps you with basically everything you need to know, and to it's a really good and safe option for good fishing, and anyhow to have a good vacation. Yeah,
Mm.
that's mainly what I had in mind about the big fish.
Yeah.
Get a
I
guide, you
think
can
like
get them quite easier, and you still need to know how to fish. It's not cheating, it's just learning.
Okay.
Mm.
Yeah, I think like Ville can tell us more about these guiding things, and then why you we need a guide, and then what really a fishing guide does help when you are like in a new place and try to fish and try to look for a nice environment and good places and different kind of suggestions. So probably Ville can tell us more
Yeah.
about that.
Yeah. Yeah. It makes your life a lot easier. Like Henrik said, when you come to a new place, it's completely different. That probably, if you, for example, if you come from southern Finland or even further away, it's much easier if you have some local to tell what kind of lies to use. And like I have seen lots and lots of people here who use way too thick lines and too big flies, and they don't get anything. And if you just would use a thinner line and a smaller fly, and present it right from the same spot, you can easily get a fish. And that's like those kind of things are what the guides can help you. And of course, it's really nice that if you come from far away, we can easily uh, book accommodations for you from the right places. And if you want to go for a further away hike somewhere further away, we can arrange everything, and makes your life easier, and you will probably get more out of fishing when you don't have to concentrate on other things.
Yeah, that's the important thing. Like when people can really concentrate on something, and then if they have limited times, as
Mm,
Henrik said, that one journalist have had like this specific 2 or 4 days plan, and then like
mm,
it didn't really went with the plan. But it's really important when you get local expertise, and then you can use your time if it's that limited, and then if you have a holiday for fishing and you come to
yeah,
Lapland, then it's kind of really important to have a guide and local help from someone who knows about different options.
Yeah, God knows where where the fish is. Like it's behind that rock over there, and
Yeah, but isn't
it's
it
it
that
makes
like
your life
people?
easier.
Yeah, or isn't it that like people can also go fishing for on their own and then like
Yeah.
following those maps and different kind of instructions. So it's also possible like on their do independently.
Mhm.
Mm.
Yeah, of course. When you know what you're doing, then it's if you're really new to fly fishing, for example, it's can be quite helpful to get the guide, or if you have some friend who is more how do you say, more experienced in that fly fishing, then he can or she can show you what to do and where to go and where the fish are.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
through that.
true. Like, but what where people can actually get like proper information or which place? For example, what earlier Elias and we mentioned that the Eraluvat, where people can see like what kind of permits they need, and then they can get much information from there. But if you think foreign tourists and foreign visitors who want to come here for fishing, so what kind of information they can get and where they can get?
Well, we have multiple sources. Um, fishinglapland.com, I put it on the comments. That's a page where we have collected the fishing and fishing tourism related services, especially here on the western part of Lapland. That's one of those pages where you find the services, and then of course, from Metsähallituk's web pages, like Retkikartta gives you options and guides you to different waters. But then Metsähallitus also runs these nature centers up here in Lapland. Like we have one here in Ylläs, you got Pallas, uh, there is one in Hetta and also in Kilpisjärvi. But most importantly, you'll find one in Rovaniemi too. And contacting these nature centers gives you, they can guide you towards services on the local area where they are represented. They also have good level of information according to permits available, and fishing regulations too. So how would I, if I would be a person living, let's say, in Paris, and I would like to go and chase for grayling, I would just go Google fishing Lapland. You would end up into the fishing Lapland webpage, and then on that page you'll find information about different areas and type of waters, but also about the fish species we hold, or our waters hold, and most importantly the services. If it's going to be related on the guiding, you'll find it there. If it's about the permits, you'll find the guidance towards the Metsähallitus web pages from there, and yeah, about the regulations too. So I would say speak fishinglapland.com first, and but when it comes to detailed information
Yeah.
and your foreign angler thinking and experience the fishing here in Lapland under the midnight sun, uh, I would just pick the destination, the area where I want to go, or the destination, and I would pick the service and contact straight to the local guide, who knows what type of equipment you need for fishing, what kind of gear you need for the other outdoor side of the fishing trip, and it also gives you information about the regulations, what all sort of general information. The easiest
Yeah.
is just to pick the area where you want to go, or the fish species you want to aim for, and then search for a guide who provides services that are related to that, and contact straight to that guide. Or if you arrive here on your own, you want to go fishing, then find the nearest nature center, and
Yeah.
go out and ask for information.
Yeah. like here, like if I ask from Ville that like how do you say like you are a guide, and then if you
Yeah.
want can suggest some kind of place, like which places in Lapland are like mostly uh, very good place for go for fishing, and what kind of fish they can get there, or do you have any kind of suggestions for different places?
Yeah, well, it's how do you call it? It's a quite big question. Lapland is big, and we are full of very good waters up here. But
Yeah.
like mm, for salmon, like Elias said, Väylä and of course River Teno and Näätämö River and grayling up here in Enontekiö. Also, Arctic char, probably best places in Finland is up here. And but whole Lapland is full of very very good waters. So also, if you like, if you live in Lapland already, you don't have to go far away. You probably
Yeah.
have very good waters just by your doorsteps.
Yeah.
Just yeah, we don't have that. You could say that we don't have bad waters up here. There is
Yeah.
fish everywhere.
Mm.
Yeah, like if I mean, for example, like catching fish in that perspective, do you have any special place, or what is the favorite place for you for fishing?
Oh, I have many, but I only tell them to my customers. But going for example, up here, Könkämäeno is a very good place, easy to reach, and lots of big graylings and whitefish. And it's just by the road, so it's a nice place to fish.
Okay.
I'll do quite a lot of fishing over there because it's a big river and lots of good rapids and backwaters where the big fish are, and it's almost 200 kilometers from here to Kilpisjärvi to Muonio, and
Mm.
between there is a lots and lots of very good fishing just by the road.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's really like people can actually get a different kind of suggestion, or they can actually think like which place they want to go. For
Yeah,
example, if they want to go to Utsjoki or Teno River, that part, or like if they want to, for example, Pello, Kolari, or this Enontekiö in that
mm,
place, or maybe like in Naatamo or in Kuusamo, that part. So it's like there are like many options here, like what people
Mm.
can choose.
Yeah,
yeah.
multiple options.
Yeah,
Yeah,
like
I
what kind
mean,
of
yeah.
service, like as a guide, you provide, or what is that? No, you are Lapland guiding. You have a company or something. So
Yeah,
what are
yeah.
the services you provide, or what kind of service people can get there?
Uh, in the summertime, if it's a fishing, I do guided fly fishing tours, and also like longer multi-day expeditions for the fly fishing. Last
Okay.
summer, longest trips were 10 days. We were 10 days in wilderness fishing for grayling, and I can provide like everything. You just need to come to airport, and I'll pick you up and take you back 10 days after you have got the biggest graylings of your life.
Yeah. So like who are listening us, like you can contact us Ville, and then like Ville can like give you a like big lifetime experience on
Yeah,
fishing.
yeah,
So you
yeah,
just need to find him like is it Lapland Guiding?
yeah.
Okay, yeah.
Laplandguiding.com.
Okay, laplandguiding.com, you can find
Yeah,
Ville, and then Ville
yeah,
can like take you there for this
yeah,
adventure
yeah,
in Lapland.
yeah.
So
I
like
have,
Yeah.
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah, Henrik was
yeah,
we go back to Henrik. Yeah.
yeah. Just to hype up what Ville said, it's just not about the huge grayling. They're just spectacular. The coloring and the dorsal fins. I mean,
Mm,
they're
Mm.
it's grayling looks really not the same in different countries. And the grayling
Mm.
in Finnish Lapland, what the pictures from Ville or Lapland anyhow, but they're just spectacular. Rainbow colors. I don't know what the colors are. And the
Yeah.
coastal fins are huge. They're we just the fish are so beautiful and they're huge. And the variety of as a fish biologist, seeing this kind of things in nature, how many different things and variations there are to be seen that are hidden from most people. If you don't pay attention, you don't see them. But
Mm.
it's really interesting. You never know what the fish is going to look like, and even if it's the same species, there's still some differences. They're just unique, in a sense.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like
Uh,
if I can add something here to Henrik, you are working for developing some kind of fishing tourism or recreational fishing and outdoor and in a sustainable way. Like what kind of things actually you are doing, or what is the like objective of that part?
Yeah, that's a really good question. Uh, it's actually many things that I'm doing. It's we're trying to build and develop. I mean, building is not the right word when we're
Yeah,
talking about natural waters, but managing them in a way that we're getting more big fish, and how we are fishing is selective fishing. We're letting the big ones go and taking what we eat from the what is biologically the best option, which is most of the time something, not the small ones, not the big ones, depending on waters. We, it's a lot of management on the ecological, knowing the ecosystem and how the fish are in that particular lake. But as a thumb of rule, the big ones should always be released, the really big fish. And there's legislative things, regulations, and rules that say something. But even if you're allowed to take a big fish, it's good to put it back to because it's genetics. Big fish, more or less, have bigger bigger fish as babies. No, not babies, but just to keep it simple, the words. So
yeah,
it's just about using fish-friendly tackle and fishing when it's okay, not in too hot waters. And if you're having a big fish, you're using maybe, or just using less hooks and lures and using barbless hooks. And when you're catching, the fish are biting, you just we might just okay, I'm just watching now. Had already enough of bites and a fish to cook, and it's sustainability and reasonability or something like that. And it's a lot of and also marketing and telling people that it's not rocket science. It's just
yeah,
a good way of managing fishing and just taking less from the ecosystem, and it's building an infrastructure for ecological infrastructure, and hopefully getting good fishing destination, getting people to come to Finland and Lapland, and building ecological future and making jobs for people in the rural areas and so on. And it's sustainable development, what it's actually. So
yeah.
that's
Do you
that's
think
a
like people?
complicated issue, but trying.
Yeah, that's true. Like there are quite many things to like involved there, and then like many different aspects. Like just not really how to make it in a sustainable way, more like interesting, or make more eco-friendly, and those kind of things are really important. But how do you see, like, is there, in your opinion, if there is there any enough information for like foreign people or like other people, if they like in English or for example in different languages, are those available for in there?
Yeah, there are information, quite a lot of it available, and more or less Finland, comparing to many other countries around Europe, we have some
Yeah,
regulation, but it's the rights to fish are more open than I think not in many countries in Europe are as free as in Finland. You know, I mean, they're not free with the rod license, national fisheries management fee if
yeah,
fishing with the lure, but there's so many possibilities, and it's more open and accessible than I think. I don't know if there are other countries like this in Europe. There are
yeah,
more private waters, more angling clubs. The fishing pays a lot more. My friends, when they come over and I say that, yeah, how much are the licenses when we're fishing for pike in southern Finland? Like, yeah, it's 15 euros per week. And they're like,
yeah,
what? Daily license can be like 40, 50 euros in around Europe just per day. So,
Yeah.
but in Lapland and in some places you need to have a separate license. So need to pay attention, just and ask, and you know, as Elias put there about the permits, we have services that help you out with getting the permits and the right permits. So
yeah,
that's what Elias just showing there, and there's quite a lot of information available. So just paying attention, because like what are the size limits and what are no take fish,
yeah,
and because there are really some fish are best let to go and release them, because there's some fish that are quite big actually. For
yeah,
like a sea trout in Väylä, if you catch a sea trout, it should be released immediately. It's really need to get some information about that, what are the regulation in that location, but it's available quite nicely. And the kalastusrajoitus.fi is also it's in Finnish. I don't know if it's now in English, but it's in Finnish and Swedish. And there's some most of the regulations on a map service. So,
yeah,
and there's also, I mean, that's a good service. So it helps.
Mm.
yeah. Like, what are the things like people need to know before coming to fish in Lapland? Is there something that they really need to know before they arrive or before they come? If Elias or Ville can add something here.
Yeah. Well, if I start, first of all, the first thing to bear in mind, well, I looked out from the window now and it started snowing. So the weather conditions up here, they change rapidly. You're on a fell area, you're on a wilderness area. You may be fishing quite far from the closest roads and so on. So you need to be geared up. First of all, make sure that you have gear like clothes, etc., which will uh, fit with the weather and will hold the weather and they are as strong enough. Like the quality of the gear needs to be also on a level where you're entering wilderness areas up here. Then, like Henrik mentioned, the permits are the first thing for the anglers, and also the regulations. But among when you buy a permit, you also get the regulations related to that permit and to that specific fishing destinations you'll be fishing for. And I just checked the kalastusrajoitus.fi is not just yet in English. So again, local guide, local nature center gives you that information about the fish regulations and and so on. And like mentioned earlier, the sea trout is prohibited here up in Lapland and on all the waters that goes into the border river between Finland and Sweden. So my home river, River Akas, which it goes through our village, is the most important spawning river for the sea trout populations in the border river, and therefore all trouts are protected in the river, and it's prohibited to take any trout on it. And if I happen to see you taking a trout there, you'll end up getting uh, prosecuted, and the fine for a sea trout, which is caught against the law and the fishing regulations, will bring you a fine of 3,490 euros, and then on top of that you'll have the court expenses. So it is something we really need to follow up here. And like Henrik said, our permits, the fishing permits, are fairly cheap in Finland compared to anywhere else in the world. The fisheries management fee, the cornerstone of the permit process, that costs 45 euros for a calendar year. So the whole year is only 45 euros. So it shouldn't be a limit for anybody who wants to fish up here in Lapland. So the weather conditions, gearing up, and the fact that you'll have the right permits and you'll follow up the regulations, use your common sense and fish responsibly, and they are the main things to keep in mind. And also what we have in Finland and what Sweden has is every man's right, that allows you to access the nature pretty much anywhere. Of course, not on anybody's yard or so, on a private land. And if there is a private land or private waters, you'll most likely will see signs about it in out there. So keep your eyes open as well. What about you, Ville? When you operate on the wilderness area? Of course, you mentioned Könkämäinen, which is accessible from a road and doesn't take more than maybe a 10-minute walk. That's the closest. But you also operate on the wilderness area 20 kilometers from the roads.
Yeah, further away.
What would you rise up? What to?
Yeah, actually, I would like to add that what you said on equipment is right, and also, especially up here in Enontekiö area, you have to remember that you are really, really far away from everything. So you or your group has to have a good first aid skills, and you have to be prepared if something happens. You have to be prepared to deal it with yourself, because if you break your leg in wilderness, you will not get any help under 2 hours or so. And there is lots of places where there is no phone coverage, even just by the road there might be, and there is lots of places that there is no phone coverage. So if you have to know what you're doing if you go further away from the roads,
and
or
that's
hire
where
a guide. Yeah.
and that's where you step in. You
Yeah,
have this first aid skills and also
Yeah.
the backup for the
Yeah.
whole crew. So
yeah, so the
it's
satellite
also
phones and everything. Yeah,
so getting a guide is also a safety matter.
yeah,
Yeah, as Ville said before, that like if people wants to come there in Enontekiö area and that place, like they can just call Ville and then Ville can tell us what to do.
Yeah.
And
Could-
how to prepare before coming.
yeah.
Should I put your phone number in there? Yeah. And Hendrik's too. So
Yeah.
you would get out to fish as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, like what kind of motivations like you get like when you go for fishing? If we just in generally speak about the fishing motivation or like this outdoor stuff, is there something that really inspires or something that quite all the time knocks you that go for fishing and stay there outside or something like that? Is there some special motivation what it is there?
At least I need it like mentally. I'll get crazy if I'm just inside all the time. So I, in the summertime, I do a lot of free skiing and wintertime free skiing, and in summertime fly fishing. And I have always been a person who rather be outside than at home. Home is a place for sleep, and it's good for your mind to be out.
Okay.
I think,
How about
yeah.
Henrik, what's your motivation for fishing?
That's a good question. It's someone put it really nicely. I mean, people say that they're going fishing to charge the batteries. I think for me it's the other way around. Yeah, all the rest, supports the fishing part. But it's about, in a sense, it's some sort of meditation by doing. It's a state of mind or being one with the nature. I mean, on some locations, yeah, you are there alone, and being one with the nature is because you're alone or maybe with a friend. But it really is about connecting with yourself. Maybe not, I mean, it's also with the nature, but in a way, you really get to know yourself better with these hours and days and nights on the water. So it's it's about catching big fish, and but I mean, in a sense, it's a part of the whole deal. For me, just sitting by a lake would be boring, but with the expectation of something happening and getting the pulse around 200, and it's why I am there, and it's all the you cannot take a part of it and say it's this and it's not that, but it's the whole thing. You have to just experience it, and even it has layers, and you understand more about it when you go deeper, and it's a lifetime obsession.
Yeah.
It's yeah. I'm reading a book, an English book. Dennis Watkins Pitchford. I mean, the acronym BB wrote a book about the confessions of a carp fisher, and it's a book about the love for the nature and the obsession of a fisher, and it's I mean, people don't really understand fishermen if they are not passionate fishers themselves. So
Yeah, I think we
I
might seem a little bit crazy for the persons who are not fishing.
obsessed.
Yeah, yeah. I just wonder what those people who were having a nice Sunday walk were thinking when I was climbing up from the river with my snowshoes on. That I probably didn't look the smartest guy in the world, and definitely I'm not the smartest guy in the world. That's for sure. Uh, for myself, the motivation is connect with the nature, and pretty much the same. It's the obsession of getting a catch. That's always somewhere over there behind on the back of your head. And like Ville said, it's also a mental healing from the stress from work. So I go out there. I enjoy observing the nature and drinking coffee on the bank. But when I'm on the water and when I have my rod on in my hand, I just fall in. I kind of fall into this state of mind where nothing else matters, and it says you just need to focus on. Oh well, at least I do. I just focus on it so much that kind of like it brings a bubble around my head.
Yeah.
Thank God that bubble is clear so I can see what's happening.
Yeah.
It's the harmony between an active doing of fishing and then the calming phenomenon from the nature. It's a state of mind. It's a state
Yeah.
of mind for sure.
Yeah, like there also, like what I see in fishing, that like I'm not that like kind of expert fisher. I just do the small like near the ponds or something small places. So
Mm,
I'm not a fisher myself. But what is important in fishing, I think it needs like some kind of concentration to stay in one place, and then you can be just in one place and then like have your own time. uh,
mm,
there are like not many other things are disturbing you when you are doing that, because at the same time when you're looking for catching a fish, it does need like continuous like attention,
Mm,
because like you have to look for it. It's not that like we're putting that in the water and then fish is going to come there. So
mm.
it does also need like this concentration, attention, and like this continuous process.
mm,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. When are you coming to fish in Lapland, Yasim?
Me? Well,
Yeah, yeah.
probably this July or in August. Let's
Uh-huh.
see like how these snows starts melting, or is there any snow will be there even like in, well, midnight sun started, but still probably let's see how long these snows are there, but probably they will be clear by then.
Yeah, that sounds like a good plan. July, August, uh, very good part of the summer months. Right now, like you said, it's pretty much about when that's when the snow is gonna melt from here. Like we in Ulas area, we still got somewhere between 80 centimeters to 1 meter of snow. So it takes another 2 3 weeks before it's cleared off and the nature starts to wake up. So
Yeah.
July,
Yeah.
July is gonna be good.
Yeah,
Yeah.
hopefully like let's let's see like how
Yeah,
it goes, but usually it's supposed to be is a good time, I think.
And
Yeah.
one, yeah,
I was just ice fishing in the morning today, and we still have 1 meter of clear ice. It's not like spring ice. It's like clear ice. One
Interesting.
meter.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
mm,
yeah. Uh,
mm,
so I'm in southern Finland currently. So we have already been fishing for I don't know how long from open water. So
Yeah.
there's leaves on the trees and grass growing, and
Yeah.
probably need to mow the lawn. But what I wanted to say is that one thing that struck me in Lapland, that was something, that's hypnotizing, or I mean the midnight sun.
Yeah.
It's something that when you come over to Finland, Lapland, it's bright 24 hours,
Mm.
and it's something that changes the state of mind of people, and it changes how you perceive time. And
yeah,
it just it's not night or day, it's just sleeping time and fishing time or whatever you are
Yeah.
doing. And it's,
yeah,
I mean, in Finland we have this Kamos, which is dark
Yeah.
24 hours in Lapland. But in the summertime, people, even when they come from abroad, they really quickly, I don't need to sleep. It's just, I call it like the Arctic madness or something like that. They're
Yeah.
just like bunnies going around with batteries charged. And I mean, the picture I sent in the beginning, which was the title of this stream, was that I fished through the night with my friend. So we were fishing at 3 a.m., 2 a.m., and it was just brightest day, and it was still on, not even in Lapland. It was a bit souther. So in Lapland, midsummer, it's just you can tie flies midnight, and you can read a book and even can use sunglasses while doing so.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a bit crazy, and you don't get used to it. It's just really nice.
Here I want to say one thing, like how do you guys experience these mosquitoes in summertime or when you go for fishing? Does mosquitoes is a concern or how it really affects?
What are
For for a fly fisherman, I think it's a good thing. If there is no mosquitoes, then there is no good fly fishing. Very often.
Yeah. Yeah. And Ville mentioned earlier that last 2 summers have been pretty dry, so we haven't really had any mosquitoes.
Yeah.
But this summer, I'm expecting to have a bit more, since we got so much snow. But the mosquitoes, they disturb you on the first place. But when you get set into that mindset of fishing, you don't notice them. And most importantly, when it comes to mosquitoes and how to prepare to meet them, is that you need to remember that whenever you're active, or if you feel stress about them, you release pheromones that attract them, that attracts mosquitoes. So if you just stay calm and keep doing whatever you're doing, they actually don't necessarily bite you or get you that well. So myself, I have a mosquito net. What I use in those situations and places where, if I'm somewhere on a remote small river and with a lot of bushes and heaps of mosquitoes around, I might use the net just around over my head. But usually I just put a mosquito repellent or some sort of tar mix, and that smells awful, and they leave me alone.
Yeah.
I think.
Ville, continue.
Yeah, they are not. I don't mind mosquitoes. They are not problem for me. But like Elias, I sometimes use the mosquito net, but it's only if there is so much mosquitoes that you can't really breathe, that they are going in your nose and mouth. That's annoying. Then you cannot fish. But
Yeah, and very important thing when it comes to using a mosquito net, you can use it only when you're alone and no one else can see you having it on. That's something you need to make sure no one's gonna catch you having a mosquito net on.
But if you're not Finnish, you are allowed to use it.
What is the point of net, like having no one else on the surrounding?
It just looks so stupid. That's the whole thing. It's nothing else. It's the best cure, but it's the silliest thing to wear on. So
Yeah, I think all the Finnish men need to tell that they are not afraid of mosquitoes and they don't care about mosquitoes. And if you use a net, then you are not a real man.
Okay.
True.
Yeah.
True that.
That's a big challenge for like having own like place while you're fishing, but probably like when there are like mosquitoes, for me, like if they're like making noises, so that time is kind of disturbing. But otherwise, if they're eating, then it's not a problem for me. So they
Yeah.
can eat, it's okay. But if they're making like this noise, like in the ears, and that time is like disturbing much more.
Yeah.
And also when about fishing and fishing abroad and choosing a destination, and regarding different places and countries where they fish and what are the dangers. We have more or less mosquitoes and of course some uh, you know animals that are not that dangerous anyhow if you use common
Mm,
sense, because there are not too many of big bears or anything. Some, in Upper Lapland, not it's not really not an issue. But when
Yeah.
fishing, like going to Australia, or there's quite a lot of venomous snakes and spiders. You need to be really paying attention to things. And in Finland, it's really the nature is friendly. They're just
yeah.
being uh, mosquito. It's just a noise, nothing else. So
Yeah.
it's basically really nice.
For the sound you asked, uh, the sound doesn't really disturb myself any in any other situation. But if I'm sleeping in a hammock or in a tent, and you're camping in a place where you have a lot of mosquitoes, I just put on the earplugs. That's what I usually
Yeah.
do. I
Yeah.
put on the earplugs, and also something that's good to bear in mind and bring up when coming up here is that midnight sun. First of all, it gives you the opportunity to fish all day long. The time loses its meaning, but it means also that it will be lit when you're supposed to sleep. So those face masks, what do you have, like, let's say on the airports and stuff for travelers, that's something I have also in my rucksack when I go out and on a overnight trips. That's what I use to get a little bit of darkness around myself when I try to sleep.
Yeah.
Mm.
LS is working like quite in many different projects. For example, Arctic waters and some other like fishing activities improvement, or like creating a different space and improving the services and other things. So how did those went, or is there any different kind of development at the moment?
Well, as we all know, the whole tourism industry globally is in a hold mode at the moment. We're all waiting for guidance if the domestic tourism is allowed over the summer. Uh, it looks like that it will be, but when do we get our borders open? Don't know. Don't really have any really good and standing estimations on it. Um, and from there, our fishing related services, they are in a development mode and state as well. They they we have done education on sustainable fishing and a lot of talking and workshops on it, and that's something that has been brought up among the entrepreneurs. But also the fact that the fishing tourism up here has based mostly on salmon fishing and on hurling related services. So you got rental boats, accommodation, guides, and the trolling sets. But from there, we have taken it more towards anglers using fly rod or lures or spinning rod, and bring those kind of services available as well. And also these easy access services. You don't need to be an angler to be able to go out there and enjoy the nature, enjoy the fishing, and catch a fish when you do it through a service. So that kind of things. And when it comes to Arctic waters, it's the TV show that's been running on the Finnish TV channels for 8 seasons now. We'll be filming the ninth season this year, and it will be released October, November this year. So that's something, and the biggest development there has been through the planning of the production. Since usually uh, it has held pretty much 50 domestic and foreign destinations. This time will be on mostly on the domestic destinations, uh, some foreign destinations among as well. And then when we look into local developments, we tightened the regulations on fishing on the river Akas last year. this year we will be increasing the ward system, so we'll bring a new ward on the waters as well, and tighten up that a little bit, just because we are expecting domestic travelers and domestic anglers to head towards Lapland, and that means that we will have more anglers on the banks, and we need more control on the regulations and on the permits, and
Mm.
we need to increase the fish work on our waters, just
Yeah,
because.
there here like I want to just say something in between that. Like, for example, you said that how it's going to affect local fishing tourism, and how the local, for example, the services who companies or local entrepreneurs who are providing fishing activities mainly. So how it's like going to affect, or do you think that there are some kind of some issues that people are expecting that because of this current situation it might affect during this summer or autumn time, or at least for this year, their businesses or entrepreneurs these services?
I think Ville can go more into the details, but in general, it just means that our businesses and entrepreneurs, they need to focus more on the hygienies, and to keep the services and the hygiene in them on the level where we got them up to when we started to face this corona crisis here in Finland, and especially up here in Lapland. So we need to be aware that there is always a possibility of another wave and so on. So just be careful, be smart with the decisions and the services you offer. You make sure that you follow up uh, the hygienic guidance as well as you can, and that's something we've been pointing out to our businesses around here in Öles. And
Yeah.
how about you, Ville?
Yeah, for me now, I'm still waiting and see what's going to happen. But right now, I don't have any multi-day expeditions for this summer, and I'm now it in this situation. If we don't get any more information, I will not do long expeditions. They only day trips this year, because if we go on multi-day trip and somebody's have just gotten the disease and gets the how do you when it how do you say it in English, when it's
Like
when
affecting
the
other
person
people.
gets sick,
Yeah.
and
Mm.
it can be in wilderness, and then it's not a nice situation.
Mm.
So
So how do you expect that? Like, for example, if in this situation, if we think the summer and autumn time, and then you are providing these fishing activities and fishing adventures, so like, is it that like you are going to be more cautious, or you don't really want to try to get more clients, or in what sense?
mm, I will be more conscious of course, and like if you compare to my normal trips this
Yeah.
year, at least now, I think I'm not going to provide any meals or anything. I just sell the guidance, and that way I can be sure that I don't spread the disease if I might have
Yeah.
it. And yeah, just be more conscious. And I uh, I still haven't decided completely, because there is
Yeah.
really there is no information yet, so what's going to happen. So
Yeah, it's like the
hard to
situation
say.
is
Yeah,
still so kind of
yeah,
unclear that like, and
yeah,
that you cannot really predict like how it will be
yeah,
in the next
yeah,
few months, or whether there will be kind of a new wave again
yeah.
at the end of summer or before autumn, what people are also expecting.
Mm,
But like what I was thinking, that how it could like affect local businesses or local entrepreneurs, for example, in your case, or other fishing activities providing companies?
Of course, it affects a lot up here because most of the people who buy guiding services up here, they are foreign people. So this summer we will not have that much business up here. Let's hope that
Yeah.
Finnish people wants to buy guided day trips, but we'll see.
Yeah,
But
so like you are encouraging from the people from south to come for fishing and then
yeah,
try to be in outdoor in Lapland.
yeah. If of course, but you when you come up here, you have to be sure that you don't have any symptoms, you're not sick or anything, because also you have to remember that when you come to Lapland, you don't have healthcare near you, or we have very limited healthcare in either case. If you, for example, if you get sick here in Kilpisjärvi and you need a doctor 9 p.m. in the evening, you have to drive to Rovaniemi, 500 kilometers to get to the doctor. So
Yeah,
yeah,
this is the
it's good
important
point
thing.
to
Like,
think.
yeah,
Yeah.
like Ville mentioned, because like the these health facilities, it's not that uh, you cannot get really in Lapland in many places because the central hospital is in Rovaniemi, and then if you got sick, and then you might be might need to travel to Rovaniemi even from a few hundred kilometers. So, and then I guess like people who are sick and then they feel they are sick, they are not actually traveling, but still like when it comes about this current corona crisis or something, you really don't know beforehand. In many cases people are really looks like healthy, but still like it lies there in their body. So maybe it's much more better if people can be more sure and then take care on their own health issues before coming to Lapland. Yeah, Henrik wants to add something here.
Yeah, I'm just
This safety and
yeah,
other things.
yeah. It's I mean, it's relatively safe a destination to go fishing, and of
Yeah.
course, it's Lapland is a relatively big area. When we're talking about Lapland, it's a huge, vast area, and you can choose fishing that's you can go like to the really up north to the like what the Ville is doing, the guiding, and there's also options to cottages and really premium class cottages, and it's it's there's a lot of options you can choose from, and the fishing possibilities are so vast that it's not easy to when point out that yeah you should go there. The information is there because there's tens of thousands of lakes and streams and rivers, and so hard to say anything particular. It's a vast area with a lot of possibilities, and to be fishing alone on a lake or a stream, and you just it's an adventure. And
Mm.
about the local guiding and using guiding services, people from Finland, I strongly recommend on using a fishing guide because I mean everyone can, you know, I can fly a plane, but the results are not that nice. I can fly a plane, no problem, but I mean in fishing, people are thinking, yeah, I know how to fish because I've been fishing, but as even every year I've learned a lot of new things because I know that I'm not perfect in fishing. I don't know fishing. I'm learning it all the time, and it's about it, you know, getting better in
Mm.
fishing. So and also probably helping someone and helping people with having a job and income in this time when no one knows about the borders. But I'm quite sure that given the amount of money that's involved around Europe in tourism, so I think it's going to open quite a lot of the boaters, and I think the situation is going to last for such a long time that anyhow, so probably we're going to have some regulation that's going to loosen the traveling. That traveling is more possible than it was. So that's my guess. Just yeah.
Yeah, it's a good point. I think like here one thing is important that like because if the current situation is going more like a longer period, and then how if it's affecting different local entrepreneurs, how they can survive, or if there is something that support they need, or what do you think, Elias or Ville?
Well, will Ville take this one first, or yeah?
It's of course, it will affect. I had a fully booked spring season, and in couple of weeks it was I didn't have anything. So yeah, of course it will affect a lot. But let's hope we get the borders open and business back
Yeah,
again.
that's true. Okay.
Yeah.
So if we
If
go back to Elias, and then like probably we will today we had like a time, so if
yeah.
Elias can add something, and then we'll go back to our last words.
Yeah, I think this whole situation has affected Lapland and our businesses and the whole tourism industry globally a lot. And we're of course looking forward to get the regulations loosened up and the industry back up and running. Just have to remember the fact that we need to be smart. We need to be smart as service providers and business owners, but we need to also be smart as guests and visitors and tourists. It's we all have responsibilities towards this pandemic situation. It's not, no one else can do it for you. You have to do it yourself. Be smart and prepare for different things and the activities or whatever you do, and bear in mind that how may you get the um, disease, etc., or if you are possibly spreading it. So therefore it's really important that we all need to look into the mirror and ask ourselves, do I have symptoms? Am I good to go? Before we even step in a car or anything and start our trips or endeavors. So uh, it's a personal responsibility that belongs to everybody when it comes to travel. You need to be. It doesn't matter wherever you're gonna go. If you're coming to Lapland, you have booked it before or so on, or you wanna see it, you will see it. But you need to be sure that you're good to go before you go. And let's say up here in Yläs region, you book a cabin, fairly safe. You're there by yourself or with your own group. You can order your grocery shoppings from the local store. You from online. You just go there and pick up your box of food and so on. And play smart when you are in shopping. You don't at the groceries. You don't go around every single banana and turn them around if it's gonna be yellow or brown and so on. So
Yeah.
just keep the common sense in head and enjoy the nature and go fishing. That's because that's you're not gonna get the corona from the fish, or that's
Yeah.
based on my information about the disease.
Yeah, that's nicely said. Like,
Yeah.
Ville wants to say like some kind of suggestion or some any recommendation or as a some opinion. What at the end we are thinking to end this live soon because we had like 1.5 hour already.
I think like Elias said, make a common sense on decisions what you make, and go fishing. It's a good good way to spend the time now. And
Mm.
it's a good thing on the fishing is that if you have lost your job or are unemployment, you actually might get some food from there too.
Yeah, that's true. Like there is like peace and food and relax and like
Yeah,
living in nature. There
yeah,
cannot be much more better than this.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
If I would
What
round this
Henrik
up,
says.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. Please go on, Hendrik, before I round it
Yeah.
up.
Yeah. I mean in Lapland and in fishing, people are more equal than any place else. The fish don't ask if you are currently employed or unemployed, and like when
Yeah.
you're sitting next by a fire, if you have like a rock star or a king that's
Yeah.
coming to sit to the next seat on the fireplace, it's just uh, people don't pay attention. Just yeah, that's the beauty in Lapland and in Finnish culture. This how people behave when they're on a fishing or hunting trip. So everyone's equal because no one. So
Yeah.
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 Yeah. Yeah. That's very important when you round it up. You doesn't matter if it's a corona or global pandemic situation. But right now, when we have this kind of situation, I think being in the nature and especially going out there and fish, that's the smartest thing you can do in these circumstances.
Yeah,
Keep
Yeah.
it simple.
That's true.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
like Nasi said, like it's kind of more important that, and then what you can get in Lapland is really much more than just fishing, because like myself, like even though I don't fish, but I consider fishing is a like one of the top like outdoor activities and outdoor adventure. What you can like experience when you're doing fishing and then living in the nature and in the outdoor, there are many more things are connected. Like
Mm.
it heals your mind and it gives you that relax. And in Lapland in summer and in other time also, like it's so peaceful that it gives as a perfect destination to come and then to go for like to experience person's own to find yourself or something like that, if I
Yeah.
say.
Yeah.
Yeah, here like we have had like more than 1.5 hour, and then we think like we can finish it already now. And then those who are saying, and we thank all of you, all of our guests, Ville, Henrik, and Elias. It was nice to talk to you and then to connect you about fishing. And then we probably need much more time to talk about fishing.
Yeah.
So it's like it's so such kind of subject and topic that we really need to reserve much more time for that.
Shall we
And
continue
this,
tomorrow?
yeah, probably like it would be good to continue tomorrow, but let's see like if we can consider any other time, maybe not tomorrow. Yeah. This slide
All
is
right.
visible in our website and also on a Facebook page, Visit Lapland Suomi, and then like in our YouTube channel. Like those people who are watching, thank you all of you, and then you can also watch it later in our website and Facebook and YouTube. And then we will be doing this kind of live in different topics in the coming days. So let's keep in touch, and then if you have some suggestions and opinion, please send it to us, and then we'll get back to you. Thank you. Thanks all of you, and thank you very
Thank
much.
you.
thank
Bye
you.
Thank you
bye.
very
Thank you.
much. Have a
Bye bye.
good evening. Thank you.
Yeah, same to you.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.